Oh, drum nerds, we're back! I'm gonna hold it here for an awkward couple seconds to get ourselves a nice thumbnail. How about one of these? Or does that look too much like a used car salesman? How about one of those? No. Alright, enough of that intro. I'm sure we'll get a thumbnail one way or the other. So, what's been going on? Who knows? Not this guy. Nobody knows. But what I will say is it really feels like I haven't been talking to you through this lens and then you receiving it through your screen for ages. And a brief fill-in synopsis of that void of time is, for me it feels like I haven't communicated in ages. For you, the Drum Nerd family, consuming this, it probably feels like no time at all because you're getting weekly videos. As you'll notice, all the scenery is different. This is my house in England. And surprise, surprise, second lockdown in England for the month, as you may have heard, depending on where you're watching this in the world. And the first lockdown, I obviously went home to my family home in Canada. And I did just churn out, I think I ended up doing about 70 videos. And that has brought us to here. And now, surprise, we get another lockdown, so here we are again. I'm churning out a bunch of videos so that I can give myself some breathing space. So, really, I feel like I haven't filmed a video for YouTube in about 5 months, when in actuality, well, that's true. In actuality, that is a fact. But I have been doing these live streams. So, just a bit of an update on the channel, really. Before I get into this, this is Tour Talk for Canada now. This is tour number 2. So, if you are bored by this intro, skip ahead about a minute from here, and that's when we'll get talking about the tour. But the point is, I'd like to announce in this video that every Friday I will be doing a live stream lesson, currently coming off of page 33, jazz independence and coordination, stuff I learned from Bob, and I'll be putting out a recorded video on Mondays. So you'll get a recorded video Monday, you get a live stream lesson and Q&A sort of thing on Friday. The only other caveat is I am now in the process of moving house because this is being sold to somebody else, so this is a rental, somebody's buying it. I have found a house down somewhere else in London and I am in the process of securing that property and moving in. At which point I will treat myself to an electronic drum kit. If you guys have the best electronic drum kit brand, I know there's loads, but if you guys could help me out, because I'm more of an acoustic guy, if you could help me out and tell me what the best one to get is, that'd be great. We can have a conversation, throw it down in the comment section below, and I'll be getting that. And then I can actually put out some covers. I can put out proper lessons. I can actually go back to some of the lessons that I've already done here. You know, the paradiddle diddle, paradiddle, 6-stroke roll, and I can actually put that onto a kit where you'll sonically be able to hear what it should sound like in actual application. And I can also turn it into some grooves because I've got some groove concepts for those rudiments that I wasn't able to demonstrate on this guy right here. So, all that's out of the way. Let's get talking about Canada. Tour number 2. Tour number 2! So this was one that myself and my buddy Graham, my good friend Graham Dominy, he and I both kind of put our brains together and put the band out there. This was a band that I was very happy to be a member of. It was one of those, I don't know if you've ever been in bands where you think, this is kind of cool, you know, I like it, but it's not my grandest kind of thing. It's not what I'm all about. And then there's other ones where you think, oh my god, this is the bee's knees, I love it. This is going straight to the top. And clearly it didn't work out that way, but it was one of those bands nonetheless. I felt wonderful about it. And so Graham and I reached out to all these different venues, all up and down. Canada's a big country if you haven't yet figured out. And so we can't exactly go provincial to provincial to provincial tour. This was more of a micro-based, you know, the smallest space that you could do. And we made a springboard off of a festival from my local town. Now, before we further this video anymore, please understand, this is about the experience. This is about how things can possibly go. And it also might help. I'm trying to make it help give some ideas in case anybody's planning tours. I know this whole COVID thing doesn't allow that, but food for thought for the future if you're more of an indie band sort of thing. And so what we did is we generated the tour completely around a focal point. which was the wine festival in the town where I'm from. Wonderful, beautiful, delicious Amherstburg. And that's a huge... I used to volunteer for the town, and I used to take surveys and ballots and stuff for the festival every year. And it would happen in the beginning of September. And there were people coming from Pennsylvania, coming from Florida, coming from all across the states, as well as all across the upper part of the province and provinces either side, some even from Quebec. And so it was actually, for Amherstburg, to have that festival, it was a really huge thing. And it was, everybody got together, all the wine would come together, and you'd get big bands. I think you had you had Bedouin Sound Clash, you had the Stills, you had the Sheepdogs. That was when we played. That's when I met the Sheepdogs. You had the Dave Matthews Band. Big hitters in this festival. And unfortunately, it has since stopped operating. But so we made it a point to get secured for the Wine Fest, and we were fortunate enough to have that. And from there, that was the kind of golden nugget that we used for other places to bolster and validate the reasons of why they should book the band. So it was almost like going for the biggest thing to then be able to get everything else to fall in line. So maybe while you guys are thinking about developing a tour, try and get something that you can use as leverage for the next venue. Because this is very much grassroots, from the ground up sort of thing. This isn't with a big tour agency where they just, my people will be in touch with your people kind of thing, and everything happens and you don't even know what goes on and it just pops up. This is very much build a house by yourself, you know. And so from there we got, I think it was the Dominion House in Windsor. We got another venue up in Kitchener, London area, and then we got one or two gigs up in Toronto. So we basically went south to north, and that was again really purposely done in that sense, because you don't want to, again, when you're creating a tour, you want to look at the geography of the location that you're in. You don't want to go back on yourself. You don't want to kind of go left to have to go right to go back to right, or back to left and up and down, but then you need to go back up. You want to make it all fluid as best as you can. And so this was very much, actually very geographically laid out in terms of Amherstburg is below Windsor, or beside it rather, and then from there you go up to Kitchener, London, and then from there you go up to Toronto, and then you fly out of Toronto. So it was all very well organized, and to my knowledge we even flew into Detroit, because Detroit's the closer airport. So instead of doing Toronto down to go back up, we went into Detroit to then literally just move up, and that was it. So from there, it was really quite simple to get the rest to fall into line. And this was when we obviously set up for Winefest. This was the biggest and most excited kind of gig show venue that I was fortunate and have been fortunate enough to do so far. We were the opening act because obviously nobody knew us, and that's fine. But to be able to take to the stage with my kit too, with the Ludwig kit that was saved up for, it was, that's the one kit that I've always wanted, and I finally got it. And now I always wanted that one festival, and now I finally got it, and I got to put the two together. I had all my family and friends come out. It was incredible. My dentist even turned up, which was amazing, So it was really exciting and great to be backstage, to meet these big bands. The Sheepdogs are huge. I think they were one of the first bands, if not the first band, to make it on the front cover of Rolling Stone without being signed to a label. Huge band from Saskatchewan, and really, really nice guys. And there were the Walkervilles, which was a culmination of, I think, a guy named Pat Robitaille and some ex-members of Mishu, which was a great Windsor band, and I think they won a Juno. They were a band that I listened to when I was younger, so this was really exciting for me to be able to do that. And then we did that, stayed at my family home, and then we just took off north. And it was just a really wonderful experience, It was really, really cool to have no pressure as such, because it was something that we designed, and it was something that we were doing, and we were a support act for some of them, and we were a main for the others, because we basically just put the night on, which was really generous of the venue to allow us to host a night being a band from nowhere in the country, you know. And then it closed. I think it was a really great night. It closed off on my birthday in Toronto. We were playing the Horseshoe Tavern. I think that was another one that we were fortunate enough to headline, and it was crazy. I got all my buddies in Toronto to come out, and they brought their buddies. It was a sea of people. My brother was there. It was my birthday. It was a really emotionally charged, electric kind of experience for many reasons, you know, because we were flying out the next day. It was my birthday. We played a gig. We just did Winefest. It was just this wonderfully amazing experience to be able to have that, and it helped create a fairly large whack of following and support as a result there from it. Obviously, at the end of the night, being a birthday, being a tour, being the final night, we kind of got a little bit loose with some alcohol. I ended up wandering off. I got wicked. I did get wicked drunk. I'll be honest with you. Let's be honest with each other. And wandered off. I woke up on one of the floors. I don't know which floor. Definitely not the one that we were staying on in the hotel. And I just woke up in the hallway with a couple bucks worth of change in front of me. So somebody's obviously thought I was a homeless man who'd gotten into the hotel and took pity upon me. I don't know, but it was a pretty decent way to end the night, really, because I monetized being drunk. Yeah, I ended up with about $1.70, maybe 220, 225, something like that. So I got some change out of it, and it was a really great experience. And then I had a friend out there in Burlington, so the flight was overbooked, and they asked anybody wants to come off. So I got to come off. I think that was this one. This might have been the second one of Canada. It's hard because there was a lot of them. And I took myself off the flight, got to hang out with a family friend, stay a bit longer in Canada, and had a great time. So what I would say when booking a tour is try and go for something that you can build it around, and try and find very geographically similar areas and venues, and don't try and overshoot what the capacity might be. It was already a very risky move taking an English band, trying to book a venue in Canada that hadn't ever been there. We had some college radio play, but not enough to bolster and validate, you know, a capacity of 500. So always don't this isn't something that you should overshoot just because you want to go big or go home sort of thing, because what you'll end up doing is getting out this venue, which you might have to hire out. Don't forget that. You might have to hire it, but there's nothing worse than going, yeah, let's get a 750 capacity venue, and you turn up and there's 25 people, because that would demoralize you as the band. It will make the promoter look like an idiot and feel bad and then have a go at you. It'll make the audience think, what the hell's going on here? This doesn't look right. It's just not a good look. I would sooner say go for a 30 capacity, 50 capacity venue if this is something that you're just starting out, and sooner have half of them turn up because it looks more full than not. And worst case scenario, which would be a great thing, is you've got a low capacity venue and you actually have to start turning some people away, because then that will create the buzz of, oh my god, we've sold out this venue, people can't even get in now, they want to know more about it, and they'd be upset they missed it, so they want to check it out either in the future or on the internet, buy some CDs. So just food for thought again on creating it. Make sure it's in a localized area. Make sure that it's the capacity that you know and honestly know that you could fill, or at least get close to. Make sure you've got accommodation, because that's important. You can have a van if you wanted to, but you got to be able to drive it, and it's got to be able to be big enough to fit the people in the band and the gear. Make sure if you go, you're either renting gear in Canada along the McQuaid, or you're bringing your gear. But if you bring your gear, you got to weigh up the cost of, is it more expensive to fly over a bunch of flight cases with instruments in it, or is it more expensive, or cheaper rather, to rent from a music store? A lot of the time it'll be cheaper to rent it from the music store. I think you can rent drum kits for, you know, $60 for 3 days, 4 days. That was the last quote I have from when we were doing this. But it depends what you want and how comfortable you feel on new gear as opposed to your gear. Yeah, I would say look into those things. They're very important. I'll put the absolute bullet points in the description below. But as it stands, that was Canada number 1, which is tour number 2. So thank you for checking this out. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Keep your stick on the ice.